What up? What up? That was the quickest what up I've ever done. Party reform. I'm going to try to get this speech or set of notes done in 10 minutes. 3 sets of notes in 10 minutes. So let's go. Party reform. Historically, political parties have had a tremendous amount of control over who their candidates would be, who their nominees would be in each party, both the Republicans and the Democrats. And when we say historically, we're talking over the last, 100, 200 years. Typically, this was done by party leaders. They would hand select the individuals who would be the nominee. And if we talk from just the standpoint of presidential elections, this would be done in their conventions. You would not have Iowa, New Hampshire play big roles. It would be at the convention, and the individuals who attended the convention would be those with a high level of political efficacy, the elites, if you will. And we've talked about the idea that some people believe that just elite members of the political community or the parties make decisions. Obviously, that has changed over time. And we've had reforms over the last 50, 60 years that have changed from more of a party-centered to a candidate-centered selection of the nominees and of winning any particular race for office. One of the reforms, and reforms means changes, was the direct primary, the idea that individual states would select, and we're talking about the presidential election in this case, but the states would select who the nominee would be, i.e., the people would select the nominee as opposed to the party. And so the direct primary became very, very common. Caucuses, which again we'll talk about in the upcoming weeks, the individual voters of each state get to select the nominee. Had Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama faced each other 50 years ago, Hillary Clinton would have been the nominee in 2008. The party would have selected her. At the beginning of the 2008 nominations, series, if you will, or the primary caucus process, Hillary Clinton was by far supported by more elite Democrats than Barack Obama. But the people selected Barack Obama starting in Iowa, and he carried the big momentum to the nomination. Civil service is the idea that individuals who work for the government take a civil service exam and get their jobs based on merit, meaning qualifications. If you go back 56 years ago, if you supported a candidate and you were a relatively high-ranking member of a party or worked hard for a candidate in a party, you might get a job as a reward for that individual winning. Well, that doesn't really happen at the national level anymore. You have to take a civil service exam, and you get your job based upon merit or qualifications. So that weakens political parties. They can't guarantee you or promise you a job that you will get automatically if they win. 17th Amendment, 17 S.E., Senate S.E., took the selection of senators from state legislatures and allowed the people to vote for members of the Senate. So the 17th Amendment, again, took power away from the party and gave it to the people. That, decreases or de-aligns individuals from political parties that don't feel so enamored to having to be a part of a party. And again, we've talked about the increase of independent voters. Other factors, I think, you can talk about a lot of these things. FICA certainly brought a lot of transparency to money in politics, and individuals couldn't just bankroll a particular high-ranking member of a party. Now, we know Super PACs changes that to a high degree, but we'll go into that in more detail later. I think mass media is a huge component here. The idea that an individual who wants to run for office can use a variety of platforms of media to get their name out. Whereas in the past, if you wanted to get your name out and you were not, well established within the party, that would be very difficult to do. We have a tremendous de-alignment from political parties over the last 40 or 50 years, and a tremendous increase in independent voters, people who can consider themselves moderates and not belonging to the Democratic or Republican Party. Right now, I would say I don't have the exact statistics, but I would say that you have about a third of the electorate or the voting population that is Republican, about a third Democrat, and you got about a third in the middle who really base their decision on candidates rather than parties. One thing that shows maybe a little bit of a party resurgence is the polarization in Congress, especially in the House of Representatives and the Senate, where individuals have become far more partisan elected officials when making decisions. This has led to a lot of gridlock, a lot of things not being done in Congress. Again, party membership doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot unless you're a high ranking party official. And you may have a say in some of the decisions that a party makes. But I would argue that political parties still serve a purpose, and there are still voters who go to the polls, and when they see an R or a D next to the name, they're going to vote based upon that. But that number of people is decreasing greatly over the last certainly 40 or 50 years. Minor parties. Why would anyone become a member of a minor or third party? There are many, 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 many minor parties out there. A variety of issues. Some are ideological, some are single issue. Prohibition Party exists. The U.S. Marijuana Party exists. They have one goal that they want to attain, which is, for this example, ban alcohol. For this one, legalize marijuana. They're not going to get much traction, but it does allow individuals who have very, very strong beliefs at least some outlet that they can say they're a member of the party and they really believe in these issues, even though realistically they're never going to win. Libertarian, Socialists, Green Party, very liberal, very liberal, very libertarian, hence the name. Again, they have a variety of issues that they talk about. Libertarian, less government. Socialist, primarily based on economic issues and equality in the economy. Green Party, just super liberal in every regard. Again, people join third parties out of principle. The idea that they don't think the Democrats or the Republicans are doing enough. So they say, we're not going to compromise our principles. We're going to join a minor party. Typically speaking, these parties garner maybe 1% in an election presidentially. Contributions. Again, contributions does not necessarily mean the result of political parties. We'll talk about the effects of political parties, minor parties or third-party candidates in a second. But contributions, again, they may raise issues that other candidates aren't willing to bring up. You're not going to see a Republican or Democrat talk about legalization of marijuana, but members of the U.S. Marijuana Party may bring up that issue and at least get it to the forefront of the political stage. The Populist Party really advocated for the direct election of senators, so historically that's an example of bringing up that issue, getting the 17th Amendment passed. Again, voice for the fringes of elements of society, so those people who really don't feel the two major parties, give them an option. This at least gives them a voice. And safety valve for the discontent, again, the idea that individuals who may not feel they have a voice, they have something. And even if they're not going to win, they feel they have a voice. The effects of third parties are a little bit different. The idea that third party candidates can cost major party candidates presidentially the election. And a good example is the 2000 election between Al Gore and George W. Bush. George W. Bush won Florida, the state of Florida, in the Electoral College by about 300 votes. Ralph Nader ran as an independent. He was a minor party candidate. He's run for the Green Party in the past, but he ran as an independent. He took about, I'm going to say 3% of the vote in Florida. Had those voters not voted for Ralph Nader, they surely would have voted for Al Gore, the Democrat. And so Al Gore loses the election because he loses Florida. And so they can have an effect on elections, but it doesn't mean they're going to win. In the next set, I'll talk about obstacles and party weaknesses. Obviously, I cannot do 3 sets of notes in 10 minutes, but it was a good effort. Peace.